Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for agents to help you be and become a top producer in your desired market, whichever market that may be. We are powered locally by the Tampa Bay Real Producers franchise here in our local market of Tampa Bay, where we feature the top 500 producing agents in the market through our monthly magazine, through our event programs, and through our podcast. As well as other social media channels. So if you don't already subscribe, go ahead and click the subscription button at Top Producers Nation on YouTube. That way you'll be able to get notified every time we drop one of these episodes, which is every Friday. And today we have one of those top producers who was just recently featured in the Tampa Bay Real Producers magazine. She's a top producing agent with Smith & Associates here in our local market. Amy Rivera, it's good to have you. Amy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good
I
to have you
escaped
here
the
for
rain,
sure.
so I'm winning.
You did. You made it. We had one of these Florida storms that just rushed here in the last couple of minutes.
Yes.
But you look dry, so everything worked out.
I'm good.
Yes,
good
we're ready to rock and roll here. So for people who might not know a little bit about your background, some people might have checked out your recent article, which just came out. So that's still out there for people to learn more.
Yes, this month.
This month for sure. So let's tell them a little bit about your background. How'd you get yourself to Tampa? And of course, how eventually did you get interested in real estate?
So actually it was my husband's job that took us down here.
Okay.
And he works for a healthcare company that's nationwide. And they gave us a few options. We had the option of Miami, Tampa, or Fort Myers. And he nixed Miami, thinking it was a little too...
Didn't want the South Beach lifestyle?
Yeah, it's just not his scene. He is a Philly boy through and through. So I think that was a little too culture shock for him. We had no idea where Fort Myers was. Sorry, but we had no idea. And so we were like, well, let's go check out Tampa. Mm-hmm. Came down for a long weekend, and it was just such a vibe. We loved it. We were walking the river walk and just fell in love. So we were like, done. So his job moved us down here in 2019.
Okay.
And my interest in real estate was really, it was kind of forged and formed when I lived in the DC metro area. And then when we also lived in Philly, and I went to grad school up there. And there's just such a history with those buildings. Like every single one you walk into. Our first house was a 200-year-old home on Race Street, which was originally called Sassafras Street. Not even 3 blocks away from the Betsy Ross house, right near the Ben Franklin Bridge, Independence Mall area. And our first home had the original coal-burning fireplace still in it. Yeah. So you kind of fall in love with the stories behind it.
For sure.
But it was always like a back burner thing for me. It was always just something I really enjoyed. And then when we came down here and COVID hit, that kind of shifted everything for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were saying off camera that you were working at the time doing media for professional soccer, right?
Yeah.
And were you traveling a lot with that role?
Traveling a ton.
Yeah.
All the time. The season for Major League Soccer was anywhere from like February through October, November.
Yeah.
And I would get contracted for X amount of games, which could be anywhere from like 8 to 15 if they make it through the playoffs. And it's nationwide. So I'd be in Portland one weekend, I'd be in Orlando the next. I'd be jet lagged out in Colorado and then heading back to my home team, which was, the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah.
So it was all over. And then I also was working with the U.S. women's national team. And so that was nationwide. And sometimes, there was France, there was Canada.
Yeah.
You're all over the place.
Rack up the frequent flyer miles, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I was Hilton Rewards, and then some. But you do kind of lose a little bit of stability in your world.
Yeah. Where did you say you grew up again?
I kind of grew up all over.
Okay.
I was all over the place.
Military family?
Military family.
There you go.
Spent some time in Philly, Maryland, Virginia, kind of that DC metro area,
Okay.
all over.
So you don't have a specific place you'd call home, huh?
No.
Obviously Tampa now.
Although I would say, I would absolutely say Tampa is the first place where I have like laid down hard roots and said, you're going to have to dig me up to move me out.
So when you came to Tampa, you said it was around 2019, you were still working in the soccer business then.
Yes.
And then COVID hit, as you mentioned, and then things obviously changed right after, because I'm assuming after COVID, a lot of the soccer leagues closed. Is that what happened?
So, we moved here at the tail end of 2019 and knew absolutely no one. I mean, it was just us. And And then 4 months later, I want to say it was like March 16th or 17th. I mean, that's how poignant of a date it was.
Yep.
Sitting at Coppertail Brewing, and my phone is just going off. And then I see everybody around me and their phones start going off, and it's just email
It's
after.
funny how you remember where you were that day, right?
Yeah.
The same way with me, too.
Oh, yeah.
We
I
were
was
actually
sitting-
hosting an event for Real Producers.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was our last, like, in-person event that we hosted for 2 years.
Yeah, it was. I remember sitting in the front seating area right outside of the front doors of the brewery, and we're just like having a few bites and having a drink, and you just started to notice everybody's paying attention to their phone.
Yeah.
And it was just endless notifications of, hey, we're grounded, we're shut down, we're not going anywhere. My daughter's school shut down.
Yeah.
My husband.
The world stopped.
Correct.
It was wild for sure.
It was insane. So yeah, it took my job out from under my feet, and I had to regroup real quick and figure out what I was going to do. Was
real estate the immediate plan and thought, or did you just kind of land on that after a long process of figuring out where we're going from here?
Yeah, I stumbled a few times. So in the same era of us sitting out there and all those notifications coming through, a friend of mine that worked for USF called me and was like, hey, I've got to onboard a whole bunch of students into online classes for classes that have no history of being online, like anatomy, phys, microbiology, stuff that you had to sit in a classroom and do.
Yeah.
And they asked if I would jump in and help. And I'm like, science is my background, but teaching may not be. But I took a chance, wanted to make sure those students had the opportunity to not have to stop their progress of their degrees.
Sure.
So I was doing that for a little bit.
Didn't quite stick though, huh, for the long haul?
Reaffirmed I was not meant to be in teaching. No. Loved parts of it, but I'm just not meant to stay in a quiet little space all day.
Is real estate the first role you ever had where it was commission based and basically, eat what you kill type of a mentality? Everything prior to that was employee, sounds like, right?
Everything prior to that was stability,
big
contracted work. You knew what was coming. This was a complete change for me.
Yeah, so that's
and
definitely a big
did it
transition.
blind. Yeah.
What was that like for you to be able to make that decision, number one? Because, I mean, there's a lot of fear, I would think, that goes into even that thought process when you're not used to having sales be your background.
Yeah.
So that interests me. And then once you actually made the decision, was there a shock at all in that first year of just trying to figure out, is this really the right decision?
I oddly can say that when I took it on, I don't have an off switch. So when I take anything on, I want to be the best. And I have maybe a little bit of hubris attached to that.
That's all right. We all got some.
Yeah. But there's a confidence that if I'm going to do something, I am going to do it to the best of my abilities. And so for me, it was more exciting than anything else. Mm-hmm. I got into a brokerage, and they were very tuned into education. And so I was excited to learn the contracts. I wanted to know everything. I did multiple certs and designations my first year just to kind of even build on to, the basics of your licensure.
Yeah. That was 2021, you said, right?
21, yeah.
So that was your first full year
yep.
In real estate. And did you view that first full year as, like you said, a year to educate and just learn this industry and learn the business? What was it like results-wise for you in that first full year? Did it take you a while to get some traction, or did you start to see some results right away?
21 was the boom here. And pretty
that
much
was a great
nationwide.
Year to start.
It was a great year to start, absolutely. And shockingly, I dove in head first.
Yep.
And my first full-time year in real estate, I did just over $7 million.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a healthy first year.
It was a great first year.
Was it all self-generated business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Was that with Smith from the get-go?
No, I actually started at a brokerage before Smith. I've been there for a little over a year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you used to getting leads given to you at all from the? So you were always building it from scratch from the beginning.
From scratch. I have never bought a lead. I have never door knocked. I have never cold called. This was all marketing for me.
Okay. So talk about that. You said you weren't from here. You didn't have a strong personal network yet, I'd imagine, in Tampa.
No one.
So how did you get some traction in that first year?
So the way that I built myself when I worked in pro sports was you had to be the go-to person, and that's kind of what I became. So if I was working at a stadium, I knew that stadium inside and out. I knew where everything was. I would get my athletes from point A to point B, and real estate translates very well into that. Little less whiny. Pro athletes, little whiny. But in real estate, the way that I kind of built myself up was to become my community expert. And so where I live in Wesley Chapel, I started to know every builder, every floor plan. You need the number to a vendor, I got you. You want to know what your CDD actually entails, because so many of us didn't come from a place that had anything like a CDD or, homeowners associations. I became the encyclopedia for that. And when you become a resource and you take that problem out of someone's hands, they now come to you to take bigger problems out of their hands.
Without a doubt.
And that became kind of my intro to people knowing, liking, and trusting me and wanting to do business with me.
What community was that?
I'm in Watergrass in Wesley Chapel.
Got it. Yeah, it's cool to hear you say that, because Rob knows well that we preach a lot here, what we call the 4 principles of top producers. And the first principle is about clarifying your USP, your unique selling proposition, which is what you just described. Your community, the way you approach the community and the way you positioned yourself within that community became your USP that people started to, associate you with.
Yes.
And then things start to build momentum from there. But it really started with that clarification, which is, I think, a very common pattern that I've seen in a lot of the top people that we interview here on the show. It's not always community-based. That's just one example. But there's all kinds of different niches that you can serve, whether it's veterans or first-time home buyers or stay-at-home moms or whoever it is that you're really, that audience that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
And the community, though, the geographic approach is one great way to do that. So,
yeah.
And you were living in the community, you said, right?
I live in the community to this day. I love.
Which adds that extra value of care.
Absolutely.
And you're there.
And I think being an expert in your market is so vital, because, everybody can reiterate the same graphic that, their brokerage or NAR sends out, and it's got the macro stats on it, and you can here's the Hillsborough County or Pasco County update. But if you don't know how they got those numbers, if you can't analyze and interpret those numbers and break them down and go from that macro view to, hey, actually on this street in this particular pocket of this community, then those numbers don't mean anything. And you're not building that trust and rapport, and you really can't know your market. And that expertise, to me, is such a vital component, because I can build out that story, and I do my own stats and numbers. I don't rely on anything else.
This might be what you just said, but what do you think distinguishes you and your approach to your community compared to your average agent who's taught from probably day one of training that they need to farm something, right?
Yeah.
So farming is a pretty common, approach and something that's taught, and many agents do it very well. Unfortunately, a lot of agents don't. And this could just be your attention to detail, the research that you just talked about that you put into your community and really knowing the data. Is there anything else that you feel like was a distinguishing factor that allowed you to serve your community at a higher level than your average agent who's just trying to farm something?
Yeah, so I actually did what I think most people would tell you not to do, which should also give you some insight to my personality. But I actually became part of our association board.
Okay.
And it was something that when I even floated the idea, everyone around me was like, absolutely not. Don't do it. It's a death sentence. And I was like, listen, I have no bone to pick with the community, right? We have a purpose as our association board. We have common goals. And if you approach it from a fairness perspective and with that goal in mind to make this the community that people want to come to, then it works. It's when you start nitpicking that the grass is 4.5 inches high that people get frustrated.
Don't be the annoying people.
Correct.
Add value.
So I wanted to add value to my community. I wanted to make them feel involved by being as transparent as possible. I post on our community pages almost every day. This is what's going on. I attend our CDD meetings, which I'm not even on the board of, and I post what's going on with them. You don't know what a trim notice is? I got you. You want to know what your CDD O&M means versus the bond debt? I got you. I make sure that my clients are informed consumers. They are not just a client. They are not just a deal, a transaction. They're not just something that I closed. I want them to know that going into buying their most important asset, there's a plan. And then while we're doing it, we have served that plan. And then afterwards, I want you to carry out that plan with me, because I don't see a home as simply the place where your family exists.
Yep.
You also do have to treat it as a huge monetary investment.
For sure.
And the only way to properly do that is to be a well-informed consumer.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so funny that you mentioned these things, because Rob's probably thinking, was this strategically planned for us to do our 4 principles? When you came here earlier, we were doing a video on the 4 principles of top producers.
Oh, wow.
And you're like talking about them as we speak right now. But it's the second principle we harped on was the idea of leading with value.
Yeah.
Right? And creating what we call value leading offers, like literally creating, whether it's services, products, finding a way that you can lead with value the audience that you want to serve,
right,
so that people position you to your position properly. But you're not always just asking for business before you build the relationship. You're truly adding value to the community. It's exactly what you just described, right?
Yeah, I'm never asking for the business.
Right.
I truly believe that what you put out brings returns to you without ever having to ask.
Right.
And
no wonder you're a top producer, Amy.
Thank you.
It makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. You're just validating our principles, and I
love that. I love that for us.
I love that for us as well. You're doing a great job. So now, has business changed or evolved at all over the years, or do you get the majority of your business still through your efforts in the community?
Yeah, I would say the past 3 years, I have been the top selling agent in Watergrass. The majority of my transactions are 2 miles away from my own home within Watergrass.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic.
Convenient
and it's,
too, right?
It's convenient, but it's also very validating. And I feel like it's another way for me to serve my community. So it makes me feel great. And then a lot of those people, you know, if they don't stay in the community, maybe they branch out a little bit, or they've referred me to people. And so that's really become the second notion of my business, is now referral based.
Totally.
So
what percentage of your business is off referrals now? Do you know?
I would say we're roughly at about 20%,
Yep.
And 80% is still close to home.
And that'll just keep probably growing over time.
Yeah.
As that formula works. So yeah, it's really cool to see how you've been able to grow that. And it seems like year over year, you've just seen incremental growth. Is that true?
Yes, 100%. I think
you were saying earlier, this is going to be your best year so far, 2015?
This is my best year so far.
Are we in 2015, Rob? We're not. We're in 2025, aren't we?
Yeah, 2015 would be an awkward throwback. That's definitely wasn't here. But yeah, my first year just doing about 7.5. My second and third years, I did a little over 10. And this year, with everything that I have currently under contract, I am already scheduled for about 15.2.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Keep growing. The
Thank
sky's
you.
the limit.
I'm so excited. I can't believe it's happened as fast as it has.
Yeah, and it's just a testament though too to the power of like focused approach.
Yes.
Right? You were very clear and intentional about your community and what you wanted to be known as there. The fact that you live there, I think, makes a lot of sense as well. And unfortunately, I've seen agents who maybe want to do what you just described, but they either don't see it through, right? They don't have the patience to actually see if it works, or maybe they're desperate monetarily and they don't have the time to let it work.
Right.
That's not usually the approach that's going to create an instantaneous result in the first 60 to 90 days.
Definitely.
Right? But if you have the ability, if you have the vision to be patient enough to let these things work, the growth is there, and the proof is in the pudding, they say.
It's discipline and consistency.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things that set any successful, I don't care what industry or profession it is discipline and consistency that sets the top from everybody else.
Totally.
There's no other formula
Spoken
to
like
it.
somebody who has a background in sports.
It might come from that.
It makes some sense.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at anybody, and, you know, a lot of my efforts in what I'm doing is, like I said, I post almost daily, and it's not a me reaching out. It's me answering
Post
a
on
question.
the community page.
Yeah. if we have a CDD meeting every single month,
Yep.
well, that gets posted as
Yep.
soon as, those notes come out. The HOA meetings, we post those notes all the time. As soon as someone has a question, I'm happy to jump in. I'm happy to explain it. And I try to stay omnipresent to people so that they know I'm available. And now it's nice because now people will reach out, and it may not even directly have anything to do with something I can help them with, but I can connect them to someone who does.
Because you're viewed
And I
that
love
way as
that.
the authority in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I also, I truly believe that like we have awesome resources as agents, and getting to share them and building that professional network as well does make a difference.
Totally. Where's your vision take you for where you want the business to go now moving forward? Do you see yourself staying as an individual producer and just continually trying to grow that brand? Do you want to ever build a team of your own one day? Have you thought about where that vision takes you?
That's such a good question because this year I thought that I wanted to build out a team. And I had kind of started putting the wheels in motion, thinking how I wanted to build that and how that growth would look to me. And ultimately, I'm actually really happy where I'm at right now.
Sure.
What I have with Smith and what they've given to me has, again, scaled my business significantly in 1 year. Mm-hmm. And I need to be able to be hyper focused on me right now and where my business is going before I can give that same level of dedication to a team and truly grow them. So right now, it's all about me. But
Do you
eventually,
have an idea of how many, whether it's transactions? I'm assuming probably that would be the way to view it rather than just sales volume, but or maybe you've seen a change in the level of like home values that you've been working with over the last few years. But what do you think would be like that tipping point for you where it's like, hey, when I'm starting to get to maybe 50 deals a year, I'm not going to be able to do this myself, you know? Or is there something like that you think you have an eye on?
It's getting close, I'll tell you that. The benefit I have is that my brokerage has an insane amount of resources that doesn't make it feel overwhelming. And it's given me the tools to be able to not be ripping my hair out. At the same time, I do think that once I get to, I'm probably somewhere around like 27 to 30 right now transactions for this year, and we still have a few months to go, so that could conceivably go up. I think if it gets over 30 is when I'm going to start crying for help.
And then ideally the brokerage would have different ways to be able to support you in that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I already have an awesome team within the staff that they have. We have a whole marketing department. We've got people who have taken so much of that off my shoulders. But I'm very type A and very hands-on. So ultimately, I want to be able to hold those reins and then have people that work with me that care about it to the degree that I do. And that is the challenge.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it could be a challenge because that's where it starts to really question whether like, where's that balance between leverage and having the control that I want to have, right?
Yes.
On my business. I think a lot of people struggle with that over time. And that's where sometimes growth comes in, you know?
Definitely.
Learning how to let go of certain things that probably aren't as important as we might have thought they were initially. And because of that, we can see breakthroughs, you know, in certain elements of our business.
Yeah. I've let a lot of stuff just kind of happen organically. And so I truly believe that there's a greater plan out there for me and it'll happen and speak to me. And when the time is right, it's just going to go.
Very cool. Well, it's great to see your success already in the early years, and I look forward to when we can maybe have you on here many years from now. Hopefully you have a team, and we'll see if you want a team, that is.
Yeah.
And see if we end up going down that road. But it'll be cool to be a fan here now from afar and see where the journey takes us.
I'm so excited.
I wanted to give some insight, too, for people who haven't read your story yet. Maybe don't know anything personally yet about you other than what you've already mentioned. So, family, I know you mentioned you're married. Do you have kids?
I have one daughter. She is almost 9.
Nice.
She was actually in my article because she is my little sidekick. My husband travels quite a bit for work, so it just started happening where she'd end up at an
Future
open
realtor
house.
on your hands?
She says so.
We'll
she
see.
says so. We will see.
Yeah.
She also is so honed in on her cheerleading right now that maybe she can blend the two. I'm not sure.
What do you guys love to do for fun when she's not doing cheerleading competitions and all that fun jazz?
Super into traveling. Love to be able to explore different places, and having lived in different areas of the country, it's kind of innate to me. I don't like to
Do you have a
sit
favorite
still.
place that you lived at? Other than Tampa, obviously.
Oh man, yeah, Tampa is definitely one of the best places I think I've been. But I love North Carolina.
Pretty state.
Loved the Chapel Hill area. We spent a lot of time out in Cary because they have the NWSL team there. I just love being able to go from like mountains to city
they got
to
the
shore.
beach shoreline and the mountains not that far.
Although it's getting a little beaten up today.
It is.
But yeah, love to travel. And then I am a waterborne creature. I should have had gills.
Florida's a good state for you then.
Yes, I have no idea why I was born with legs. But I was a swimmer my whole life, and so we have a kayak that we take out often. We love to go to the springs. Manatees are like my soul creature, so I will do anything to be out on the water.
Do you feel like there's anything you learned from your experience in swimming that has applied to your real estate career?
Paddle harder.
Okay.
That's all my coach used to ever say to me. Just paddle harder.
Yeah.
You didn't win, paddle harder. You wanna go faster, you got to paddle harder.
I love that. Yeah, and it's interesting because, going back to what I mentioned earlier, this is your first experience being in sales, and I think for a lot of people that's not an easy transition, and they can struggle at times with the rejection that comes with a sales role.
Yeah.
You've structured your real estate business where it's not like you're out knocking on doors and trying to, influence people in that way. So you've built a lot of value first, and that's where you've attracted your client base. But at the end of the day, I mean, there's still sales components that you're trying to
100%.
get good at when it comes to being a successful real estate agent. And the resilience that I think it takes to be a successful athlete, which sounds like you were and had that background with swimming. And I'm sure you saw that even from afar in your soccer days when you're dealing with these professional women who have made it as far as they have. To me, those are the same characteristics and traits that are needed many times for someone to be great in this business.
Absolutely.
That mindset, that determination, that resiliency.
Yeah.
Because, you're going to face the rejection. It's going to feel at times like it's overwhelming. And how do you react to that? That's really key.
If you look at some of the top athletes
There's the
out
big
there,
dog. You could say hi to Amy if you like.
Hey, Amy.
Hi.
Jason runs the show here. This is his office, and he's just blessing us with it.
Absolutely. I'll let you get back to it.
If you look at any top athletes and top producers, and I'm sure you've seen this in your interviews, is they will tell you that this isn't a job to them. It's their obsession.
Yeah.
They just think about it all the time, and they think of ways to get better. They think of how many more hours do they need to put in. They refine their processes all the time. And I think that has to be what you walk in with. I wake up and I think, how can I make my listing presentation better? What type of material should I really have in there? My pitch has changed different times depending on the situation and the market. And I mean, I walked into a listing presentation just a couple of days ago, and where I would normally start with this whole introduction and, I kind of have this cadence that I do, I needed to hit her with the numbers first because honestly, I didn't know if the sale was going to be possible. Mm-hmm. Small margins, tough market for townhomes. And I've really just tried to take this to the level where it's what I do all the time. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't just make it into a transaction. I want to follow up and be like, hey, did you file for homestead? Have you looked to see if you qualify for anything else under homestead? Have you had a life change? Where are you in this investment? Here are some ways you can increase the equity in your home faster. What would you like to add? I don't know if I would do that color. It might be going out. There's different ways all the time to make someone else successful through real estate.
Yeah, and I love what you said about the idea of like constant and never-ending improvement, right?
Yeah.
That's a tagline out there called CANI, C-A-N-I, constant and never-ending improvement. I've had mentors who have taught that a lot, and I don't care what industry you're in, real estate or anything else, like there should also be that mentality of I can always get a little bit better, right? Once I feel like I've made it, that usually is the decline of your entire career when you have that, limited mentality.
Definitely.
Versus the one that you just described. I can
Never
get a little
stop
bit better
learning.
at this listing appointment. I can get a little bit better at serving my buyers. I can do something a little bit differently in how I'm serving my community. And when you have that mentality, there's always room for growth.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think successful athletes have the same mentality as well.
I started as an academic and an athlete, and funny enough, when I was teaching, I didn't feel like it was for me, but what I realized is it probably just wasn't the right forum. This is still a way for me to educate people, and it comes more naturally to me to be that person. So when I'm talking about the market and I'm showing someone, this is what these numbers mean, and this is what it means for your specific price bracket, and taking them through that, I still kind of get to be that educator.
For sure.
But in a different way.
Yeah, makes sense. Very cool. A couple rapid fire questions. Ready?
Bring it.
Do you have a favorite book or author, seminar that you feel like has ever made a big impact on you personally or professionally?
I did Ninja Selling. I actually read the book a few times before I went to one of the installations. I did the installation this past January, and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's
totally
come up
recommend
a couple
it.
times. Definitely a great book.
Yeah. Ninja Selling and Atomic Habits are just killer.
Great one. James Clear.
Yeah.
One of my boys. Yeah, that's another great one too. I highly recommend that for people to identify the habits that are really, our life is determined by the habits we live, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
I am not big into TV. I will say that. But I know. I'm just not.
Again, that's why she's successful.
I have such a lousy attention span. If you ask my husband, he'll tell you this all the time. He's like, we'll be sitting there and we'll be watching a show, and at the same time I'm on my phone, and then I'm fiddling with something in the kitchen, and then like it's like
I got a little bit of that in me,
squirrel. Yeah. But it's I
usually
don't know.
have a game on. I'm a sports nut myself.
Yeah.
So if I have a game on, I can read a book with the game on. I have all this other stuff happening. I'm on my laptop, but as long as there's a game on.
Right.
I
love watching a game.
Or what's going on. Yeah.
When Red Zone came out, that was my world, because I was like, wait a minute, I can do 4 of these at the same time. You're just going to cut to the chase. I love Red Zone. But if you want me to sit through an actual game, it's a no-go.
With all these different areas you've lived, have any of the sports teams now landed on your heart? Are you passionate about? I know your husband's a big Philly guy. You mentioned
he's huge.
Did
all
that
Philly
not pass
sports.
on to you? Are you a Bucks gal now, or do any teams resonate and get your loyalty?
So one of my uncles actually played for the Eagles.
Okay.
So by blood, I have to.
That's a good reason to
have them.
Keep some roots.
Yes.
I guess.
But my daughter knows nothing other than Tampa. She does not remember living in Philly, and so she just loves to just aggravate my husband to death, and she's like, "Go Bucks," and I'm like,
Those are fighting words in your household.
Yeah, but yeah, I love sports in general. I love them all, actually, and so I don't have like a hardcore loyalty. But if my family asked, "Go Birds,"
there you go. Go Birds. We're gonna edit that part out, Rob. We'll edit that Go Birds part out. I'm from the Connecticut area, for those of you who know, so. Birds here, it's just not going to fly.
And you somehow ended up a Giants fan. How
I did.
is that?
Well, I grew up on the border of Connecticut and New York.
Okay.
So Giant Stadium was actually the closest. Much closer than the old Patriot area.
Makes a little more sense now.
Exactly right. And I went to the Super Bowl, saw them beat the Patriots in the undefeated season. So there was a lot of that. Hey, get out of my camera shot, Rob. All right, we're gonna put a bow on the episode, and if anyone wanted to pick your brain a little bit more, though, about just how you got things rolling in the beginning, specifically, and your community approaches and all the success you've had there, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Definitely text me. My cell phone is the easiest way to get a hold of me and the quickest way. And I don't gatekeep. I have no qualms about sharing how I did it, because the difference is going to be as to whether or not you actually do it.
Amen.
The materials can all be there. We have all worked off of the same playbooks, Atomic Habits, Ninja, you name it. You can read all you want, but if you don't actually execute it, it means nothing.
Totally.
So I don't mind sharing the information and hoping that other people grow to be successful, because those are the people I want to do business with later on.
That's another trait I've noticed from people that have been on the show and top producers in general. Many of them, and of course not all, but most have that abundant mentality that they're willing to give their goods. They're not trying to hold everything back to themselves. They want to have other people grow and succeed.
100%.
And they want more agents to do well in the business. It helps the industry, right?
Absolutely.
As a whole. So and then thankfully that's the case, or else we wouldn't be very successful at what we do.
You got to hold the bar
pretty
high.
boring if everybody didn't want to share anything, right? So I'm glad that people have that attitude, and we appreciate you here today.
Appreciate you guys
doing the same.
Yeah.
So my last question for you is, I call it the legacy question. This is about that day, hopefully many years from now, when you're sitting on that rocking chair and thinking back to what you'd want to be most remembered for, personally or professionally, what do you think would be most important to you in terms of the legacy you'd want to leave?
I would want people to think back and say, she really helped me through that. Whatever that is. It doesn't matter if it's real estate or even something personal. I fill my soul through acts of service. And it just so happened that real estate is where I found the most success in being able to do it. But I love being a community advocate. I love cheering on what I consider my, my home of Tampa Bay to be. I am deathly loyal to people, and I hope that they always know that I had their back.
Very cool. And I have a feeling your clients probably feel that, or else they wouldn't be wanting to work with you again. And as you've been in the business now for 4 years, you'll start to see, I think, some of those repeat, clients.
Absolutely.
Now, I would think, that are
Already
coming back into the pipeline. And then that also adds another layer of additional business that you'll see grow too. So
Definitely.
I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much.
Amy, and sharing some of your story and your insights. It was great to have you. I hope that there was some things that people can take away.
I hope so too.
We always try to end the episode with a challenge to the audience, and that is to take action, right? There's different ideas that we always flush out in these episodes. And just what's one thing that you can take from our conversation today with Amy that can help propel you forward personally and professionally? Maybe it's even one of the book recommendations that we gave, or maybe you really like her approach to working with a community, and you heard some of the ways that she added value to the residents of that community. Is that something that you can do, right, in your own neighborhood or another neighborhood that you might not even live in, but you just still want to become a brand in and serve at the highest level? You heard Amy talk about how she has that mentality of truly wanting to be a servant and leading with that. And I think that that's a trait, and not everybody has that naturally, but it is something you can work on, something you can put to practice. And what's one thing that you can do maybe today that would add some value to somebody else, a potential client? Maybe it's a family member that's going to step forward in the right direction and get you used to doing that on a regular basis. If you don't already subscribe, like I mentioned earlier, click the button below so you'll be notified every time we drop a new episode here at the Top Producers Nation podcast. And lastly, check us out at topproducersnation.com to learn more about our programs and platforms. We have a lot of different ways online. We actually have a school community that you can join for free right now. That's going away, by the way, on September 1st. The community's not going away, but the free component is. So it'll be a subscription-based thing after September 1st. But for now, you can grandfather yourself in. If you're an agent who would like to be in a community of like-minded agents who are committed to being top producers, you can join that by just going to TPN, Top Producers Nation School, SKOOL.com, and you can join our online community. We have courses in there. We have different resources in there to help you. We also do weekly calls where we bring top producers on, like Amy, to interview them and just dive into their best practices. And you can see all that in the calendar section of that online community. We do have weekly webinars as well, where we dig into the 4 principles of top producers. We run them Fridays at 4 o'clock. So if you wanted to join us later on this afternoon, you can do that and go to the topproducersnation.com to be able to see how you can register for the next webinar. We will see you on the next episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. See you later.